Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the top 5 writing mistakes. We are going to go ahead and get started. I just want to give you a few little housekeeping things. If you see that you have the chat up there. If you look at the top of your screen, there should be a few little icons that you have, and you have one for chat. So we do want this to be interactive. I see Kimberly's ready. Good evening, Kimberly. So please do drop things in the chat. And then we also have next to the chat a little icon with a question mark. And that is if you have any questions to put those in there. Hello, Erica, and welcome. If you have any questions, you can put them in that question section. And then we also have next to that, it looks like like a bar chart thing that will be you'll see, I'll tell you when to go there, and you'll see we have some polls and things that we'll be taking through the night. Hi, Aaron, welcome. So good to have you on here. And then we will also have next to that is a little like a prize thing or like a gift, because I do have some goodies for you guys at the end. So definitely stay through everything because you don't want to miss anything. And I am also going to turn my camera off so that you can see the slides in their entirety. So let's get started. Welcome again. And the first thing I want to know is, what do you think we'll be talking about tonight? What would you consider one of the top 5 mistakes that people make in writing? So just drop your response in the chat. Anybody want to take a guess? Okay. So Kimberly said not thinking about their audience. That can be a mistake when you're writing. And that's something that we definitely will talk about in another night. But that's a good one that a lot of people don't know exactly who they're talking to. Yeah, that is a good one, Erica said. Anybody else got an idea of some things? Okay, punctuation, yes. So we'll probably be talking about punctuation, because I do want you to keep in mind that this is basically just the top 5 mistakes, right? So this is going to kind of do basic writing and things that we see every day. Bad grammar, yes. So there are things that we see every day that we need to work on. So here's what I see every day that we'll talk about: using the wrong punctuation inside quotation marks, the misuse of that for who, writing towards with an S, adding hyphens to ly adverbs, and not using direct address commas. So those are things that I see almost daily that people do. So what we're going to go over some of those things, and you'll see an improvement within, right after tonight, tomorrow when you go to work and you're typing those emails or anything, you'll automatically see these things and be able to fix them. And so you'll be writing like a pro in no time. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about who I am. So I have been writing and in the writing business for 20 plus years. I've been in communications. I got my bachelor's in mass media arts, so that was in journalism from Hampton University, my master's in writing. I have been a journalist, an editor, a publicity director, a college instructor, and have worked in corporate, nonprofit, and government communications. So I've done a whole bunch of things in communications. And currently, I am the public relations counselor for the Meridian Group, which is an agency. And then also, here's a list of some of the boards that I've been on, and I am a published author. So I use words all the time. And so I want to know a little bit about each one of you. So, what brings you here tonight, and what are you hoping to get from this, and how it's going to help you with your writing? So, just drop something in the chat that you want to share. And I know that there's like a little delay too. Okay, is anyone trying to get anything out? Okay, good. Kimberly says, I'm looking at this as a continuing education opportunity. I write a great deal as public relations professional. Yeah, so a lot of this is going to help you with a refresher. And Aaron said the number one piece of advice I've been given in school is that you must be a good writer to be employable. Yes, it's really important because, right, communications is very important, and knowing how to write. And you'll see sometimes when your punctuation is misplaced and all of those things, it can muddle your message. It can also cause a little bit of confusion. So that's great. Okay, and Aaron, that you're a good writer, but you want to make sure you're not making these mistakes. Exactly. And so that's exactly what you're here for tonight. And I'm here to help you with that. And so tonight is just the first in this whole series of writing basic webinars that I'll have one each month, and we'll kind of get into that a little later. But then you can also check out the full schedule. So, like I said, there's different topics that we'll do each month. And the full schedule is on my website at purpleink.com, but we'll get into that a little later. Let's now get into some of the meat and potatoes that we want to talk about. So, the first one is using the wrong punctuation inside of quotation marks. This one I see all the time. And I don't even remember when we learned this. I know that a lot of things, right, we haven't learned since middle school, some elementary school. So it's hard to remember, but this is a big one that I see. And it makes me think of Jeopardy. So I am a big Jeopardy fan, and I hope we got some people here that are. And I'm going to actually ask you your first poll question that I have. And that is going to be, so if you go over to the poll section, you can see it now. It is asking who your favorite Jeopardy champion is. And so I have a full options of them right here. And this is within the last few, well, I would say Ken Jennings has been a while, but he's the host now. And so this is in the last like 2 years, the big names. And so some of them are coming in now. We got a 50-50 split between Matea and Ken Jennings. See anybody else going to weigh in? All right. So it looks like everyone has weighed in. And we have a 50-50 tie between Mateo Roach and Ken Jennings. So we'll see if, well, Ken Jennings has won it all. So we'll see if we see Matea again. But what does all of this have to do with what we're talking about right now with punctuation? Basically, oh, we had somebody weigh in with the Ryan Long, I see too. So yeah, keep those coming in. Basically, what this has to do with Jeopardy is that they get it all wrong. As much as Jeopardy gets right, this I see all the time, and I scream at my TV and I'm frustrated. So look at this. It says the father of history is in quotation marks, and then there's a comma outside of the quotation marks. This ancient Greek wrote a 9-volume work on the wars between Greece and Persia. And while the, I guess I would say the answer, but while the question is, who is Herodias? It's the answer is wrong, right? Because what we do is periods and the comma always go within the quotation marks. So in this example, the father of history, it should be inside the quotation marks and then this ancient Greek so and so. So the same with he told me I love you, right? See how the period goes inside the quotation marks. And so why that is a thing, we have also that the dashes, semicolons, colons, question marks, and explanation points go within the quotation marks when they apply to the quoted matter. So periods and commas go inside the quotation marks. The dashes, semicolons, colons, question marks, and explanation points go inside or outside, depending on if it goes along with the quoted material. And so here's an example of where they would go outside is, can you believe he said, I love you, right? Because when he said, I love you, it's not a question, but I'm asking you, can you believe that he said that? So the same as my mom started reading The Duke and I, semicolon, I just watched Bridgerton on Netflix. Any questions about this so far? Okay, it doesn't look like anybody's had a question. If you have them, pop them in the question section. And anytime we're going through this, if you have a question, just go over there and type your question in there. So that is using punctuation with quotation marks and knowing where to use them in and inside or outside, I mean. Now, the next big thing is the misuse of that for who. And I see this one all the time too. So we use who. It's used when it's introducing a clause that gives further information about a person or people that have previously been mentioned. And so the example that I give here is the little boy who lives down the lane, right? Because it's talking of giving you more information of that little boy. He lives down the lane. So, who is that little boy? You're not going to say the little boy that lives down the lane because he's a person. So we don't use that for that clause. But we do use that as a pronoun to introduce a clause giving further information about an inanimate object or a thing that's not alive. For example, it's the gift that keeps giving because the gift is not a living thing. So then we get to a puppy. Puppies are adorable, they're cute, and I will always refer to my dog as pretty much I considered him to be a person. He would actually get mad when I called him a dog. So we would always use I would use who with a puppy or with any of your pets. But would you use who or that for a flower? So that gets a little tricky, right? Because I don't think you've ever seen where it said the rose who grew outside my window. That sounds weird, right? So it would be the rose that grew outside my window. But a rose is a living thing, right? And then we look at the IRS. Would we consider the IRS to be living? It's made up of a bunch of living people, hopefully, right? Although this time around, this time of year, we wonder who really is at the IRS and how human are they? Well, it depends on what kind of return that we get, or refund that we get. But IRS would we use who or that for? And then what about, I don't know how many people, has anybody, let me know in the chat, has anybody seen the movie Megan yet? What do you think of it? And what, if you've seen it, okay, Erica has not. If you've seen it, have you seen the commercials? I haven't. No thanks, Aaron said. I've seen the commercials and I actually want to see it because it looks actually funny to me instead of scary. But would you consider, yeah, Erica's seen the commercials. No, thank you. But would you consider her to be a that or a who? Because it's supposedly, right, a doll that I think comes to life or takes on their own thing. So it gets a little tricky. So Omar said of that, and Erica said of that. Yeah, I think so. However, it gets a little tricky. So there are exceptions. What do you do when you're talking about something that's living, but that isn't human, right? And so that's some of the things that we talked about with the flowers, with well, Megan's not alive, but things like that. Or so typically, who is used for humans and animals with names. So think of it that way. So I would still call Megan a that, although I don't know, she looks kind of creepy. If she was coming after me and wanted me to call her a person, I might call her a person instead for that. So then we talk about the groups and companies. That is used when we're talking about a class or type of person, that team, that company. But here is the tricky one that I want you guys to weigh in on. So this is another poll question that we're going to go to. Several of the agency's employees who or that work in the building wait until the last minute to file their taxes. And so I'm going to enable that poll right now and let's see, what would you say? Who or that? So go ahead and vote. Okay, so we said 100% so far has said who. Anybody going to weigh in with that? Okay, we have 20% into that. Anyone else? All right. So, all of those people that said who, give yourself a pat on the back. Here is why. Okay. So, as we said, that we talked about if it's a group, right? And we would use that because it would be that agency. But the tricky thing here is that we're saying several of the agency's employees. So we're not actually talking about the agency, we're talking about the employees, the people. So it's the same if you were going to say, I play for that team, you would say that team. But if you're talking about a team of athletes, who is what you would use. So do you see the distinct difference there? It's when it's the actual collection of them, you're going to use that. And if you're talking about individuals within that collection, you would use who. Any questions on that? Okay, so I know it can get a little tricky. And actually, sometimes it's debatable. Sometimes people will still refer to groups as who. Um, it depends on, sometimes companies, that's what they'll have in their style guides that they use. So it can be a bit debatable, but the main thing with who and that is that anytime you're talking about a person, you want to use who. and be sure of that. Any questions on that? All right. So we are just going to move along to the next topic, writing towards. I see this all the time, and I make the same face that this lady makes when I hear it because it sounds to me like nails on a chalkboard. It's the same thing when people say backwards or forwards. Drop the S. There's no S in toward, there's no S in forward, there's no S in backward. Unless you live in Great Britain or Australia. So they will add the S, but in the United States and Canada, we don't add the S to it. But you do use forwards when you're referring to several soccer players in a position because they are the forwards on the team. Although there still could have only been one Pele, who unfortunately we lost. I don't know if it was this year or the end of last year, but recently. So, any questions on those? I know we've kind of gone through a lot so far. How's everybody feeling? Drop a message in the chat and let me know that you're still there, or if you're confused, or if you're feeling good. Erica's feeling good. Anybody else feeling good? Kimberly, thumbs up. Great. Anybody exhausted and overwhelmed already? Aaron smiling. So it looks like we're all doing good. Omar's good. Great. All right. So we are going to move into adding hyphens to ly adverbs. And does everybody remember what an adverb is or what an adverb does? Anybody remember adverbs on Schoolhouse Rock? I was really, when I watched the special that they had, they didn't deal with the adverbs at all, which I was sad because that was one of my favorite songs. Okay, so we got some people that are still not brave enough to come out and say or not sure. So adverbs and adjectives are modifiers. And what they do is they give you more information about a noun, which is a person, place, or thing, right? And so, well, okay, so adjectives give you information about a person, place, or thing. An adverb gives you information about a verb, or an adverb gives you more information about an adjective. That will then give you more information about a noun. Anybody confused yet? If you are, I will do a shameless plug. We will go over this a little bit more in detail in next month's newsletter. So you want to make sure that you sign up for that, and so that you will get that information, and hopefully it'll clear that up for you. But so why do we hyphenate modifiers? We hyphenate modifiers for clarity, right? So if you're saying a large animal veterinarian, you are usually you'd put the hyphen between large animal because large is telling more about the animal. It's not telling you more about the veterinarian. Okay. And so large animal veterinarian explains that this is a veterinarian that's works specifically with large animals. Whereas if you didn't have the hyphen in there, you're looking at a large animal who is a veterinarian, because large is modifying without the hyphen. Large is modifying veterinarian. It's telling you more about the veterinarian, and animal is also telling you more about the veterinarian. So basically, the hyphen here works as making it kind of like it's one word that's describing the next word instead of two different things describing that word. And unfortunately, I really wanted to find a picture of a lion or something that was a large animal dressed up as a veterinarian, but all I could find was this adorable golden retriever. I did look and I found pictures of people that were dressed up as veterinarians and also dressed up as lions, but that was just really creepy and it creeped me out. And I didn't want you to have to not be able to unsee that. So, here is the rule for hyphenation with ly adverbs that the Chicago Manual Style says. It says compounds formed by an adverb ending in ly plus an adjective or participle such as largely irrelevant or smartly dressed are not hyphenated either before or after a noun, since ambiguity is virtually impossible. The ly ending with adverbs signals to the reader that the next word will be another modifier, not a noun. That's a lot of words. Everybody understand that? Anybody out there shaking their head, scratching their head, wanting to run away? Are y'all there? Because I don't know. For me, that's a lot of words. Basically, what it's saying is that if you have an adverb that is an ly, you don't put a hyphen. Yeah, it's a lot of words. Like Katrina said, you don't have the hyphen because you know that it's an adverb. Now, in the what I showed you before, and we'll go back to that real quick. Large and animal, neither one of those words are adverbs. Large by itself is an adjective, animal by itself is a noun. So they have to be put together so that they tell you more about a veterinarian. But when you have an ly adverb, such as largely, you know that it's going to be an adverb. So basically, the hyphen is showing you that we're using something as an adverb, but you already know that it's an adverb. So it's redundant to add the hyphen in between it. So, what if you had a family owned bakery? Would you put a hyphen between that? The answer is no. Or, sorry, you would put a hyphen between it. The answer is yes, because no, family is not an adverb. So look at family is a noun and owned is a verb, and they have to be put together to tell you more information about the noun bakery. Therefore, it's a family owned bakery. So hyphenate the two words when using them as an adjective. Everybody doing okay? Anybody confused? Anybody excited to get that newsletter so that they can understand this a little bit better? Yes, excited for the newsletter. Yes, the newsletter will definitely help you break it down a little bit more because we're going to go specifically into just this. So, is there any, knowing this, what other ly hyphenated compound modifiers can you think of? That's a lot of words too, right? So let's break that down. So that is, what other words that end in ly that are hyphenated, like family owned, that describe another noun after it? And so I know that that is tricky and that's a lot. So I will give you an example of one. There is a jelly textured filling, because jelly, think of jelly, it's a food, it's not an adjective, it doesn't describe anything, it's just what the thing is called, right? And textured gives you that something's going to have a texture to it. So that's an adjective, but jelly textured is a specific type of texture that this filling has to it, if that makes sense. The same with a holly shaped leaf. See, it's tricky because those words, holly ends in an ly, but holly is really a type of plant, right? So if it has that, you're looking for a plant that would have the same type of shaped leaves that a holly tree would have. Any questions? Does that explain it a little bit more? I know it's a lot that we're throwing at you. But as I said, this is just to get you like give you an introduction to some of these things. Okay, any comments, questions, concerns? Be sure to drop them in the questions. Is everybody ready to move on to the next thing? Yes. All right. Yes. We will move on to, if you get nothing else tonight, this one is easiest, I think. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see after we go over it. We'll see what you guys think. So this one is not using direct address commas. And I see this all the time. So what is a direct address comma? A direct address is basically right when you are, it refers to a speaker that you're talking directly to. So if I say, hello, Erica, how are you today? It's going to be, hello, I'm talking to you directly. And the address can be a pronoun, person's name, like Erica, a proper noun, a salutation, or a collective noun. And so you would add a comma between the hello and the name. So let's look at, everybody has birthdays and you're always wishing your friends a happy birthday, right? So when you wish them a happy birthday, there's a comma between happy birthday, Maria, happy birthday, Katrina, right? Because this is, you're addressing, the comma lets me know that you're addressing that person directly. So an easier way to think of it is why we add the comma to avoid confusion when we have things like this. Let's eat Fido. Well, if you don't have the comma, we're basically saying that we're going to eat Fido. But if you say, let's eat, comma, Fido, it lets us know that you're telling Fido, hey, it's time to eat. And we've seen, right? I'm sure you've seen the posts, the memes, and everything where it's like, let's eat grandma, um, where we don't want to eat our grandmas. So you have to put the comma there. Yes, you definitely need the comma to save Fido because we do not want to eat our pets. That is scary. Although I will say that growing up, sometimes I had some chickens and we sure did have fried chicken, but that's a story for another night. So, any questions about this? How many of you confess that you're guilty of not adding the comma all the time? Anybody brave enough? Yes. Yep. We all tend to be guilty. Yeah, we don't use it all the time. Oh, good. Grammarly has you trained to do it. That's good because it does, it avoids that confusion in less formal settings. But it's always a good practice to use it. So here's a way of thinking about it. The commas show that the direct address is not the subject or the object of the sentence, but an address, right? So it's not, and this will help you. Right now, it doesn't necessarily make sense, but as you get more advanced, if you want to, in your writing, it'll help you know where different punctuation goes. And you'll know like what the object is, what the subject is. It'll help you with verb agreement and all of those things going down the line if you're able to take that out and realize that it's an address and it functions like an interjection, like wow, hey, things like that. So they're really not involved with the action of the sentence. And this last part, just for any grammar nerds out there that Nouns of direct address are also known as vocative case nouns, which, to be honest, I didn't know what that was before either. Um, but if you want to, when you're talking to your coworkers and you're like giving a quick edit of something, chances are they're going to have the mistake in there, and you can impress them and say, "Oh, well, you need the comma here because you need to show that this is a vocative case noun." So, you can get fancy with that. And maybe that's what you take away from tonight and show that you know what you're talking about. So, those are the 5 that we have. Are there any questions? Lots of questions, concerns, and you can put them in the questions, or you can at this point put them in the chat for me to see, because I'll answer them directly right now. Yeah, there. I know Kimberly says she needs to put some of these rules into practice. It can be hard. I would say start with like I said, they're just these 5. Really, there's a bunch of them, but just start with these 5 or just start with 1, and you'll definitely have some improvement. All right. So, who is feeling good about this? Who wants to know more? Will the newsletters include other types of modifiers? Erica's asking. It can. So, would like more info via the newsletter or webinars? Yes, definitely. And so what we'll do is with the newsletter, it's a monthly newsletter. So each month it'll be a different topic about writing and about grammar. And so it'll give you other tips. And it'll focus, each one will focus on one of the bigger ones, right? So it's, well, not one of the bigger ones, but in bigger focus. So it's easier for you to completely comprehend it, and it's not going to be as quick as the webinar is just to give you a feel, and it's like these top 5, but it'll go more into why things are that way and everything. And then I know that there's the question about um the will some of these to talking about the webinars, and so we'll get into that a little bit more. Like each webinar is going to be a different topic, like I said. Um, and you'll see there's the schedule that's already on the website, and it'll show more of that. Okay, any other questions? And so, yeah, that's what we're talking about next, the writing basics webinars. And you can see there, and we'll put the link in the chat. Yep, that's my website that you can go to get this information, and we'll also put the link in the chat for you. I think Katrina's gonna add that in so that you can click on that and go to the webinars and sign up for those. So we do have, a different way that you can do these. So you can each webinar is $10, so you can do that individually and pay for them, each one you want to check out, or it'll give you at this link, it'll give you the option to do that, or to get a 3 webinar pass where you'll sign up for that and let me know which ones you want to take. And so you get credit for those, or you can pay for the whole year and pay for those at a discounted rate. And then what's great with these too is once you sign up for one, even if you can't make it live, you will still get the recording of what you missed, and that you can go to anytime, and you'll have access to that. And with each of these webinars, this one's just the introduction, but with each of the other webinars each month, you'll also have handouts and everything that you can use, and worksheets that you'll have to print out and have reference guides and everything too. So it's really great. Uh-oh, someone said the link isn't working for you. We will, if you, I don't know why it's not working. There's, if that's not working, Kimberly, you can still go to the website and access that link there so that you can sign up. But then we will also, in the newsletters and everything, have the links available as well. And what I will do is I can personally get back with you and make sure that you have the right link. So I'll follow up to make sure that that works for you. Okay, you're welcome. And then there's even more stuff that we're doing. So, for everyone that's in the Hampton Roads area, we will be doing an in depth write your professional bio. So, you'll be in person and it's a half day thing. There'll be breakfast, there'll be prizes, there'll be all kinds of fun stuff, but you'll also leave with your bio written. So that's a big thing. And I know that I've looked places and people pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get their professional bios done. And yeah, Katrina's put the link in there so you can register now. And it is $100 for the half day. And then $30, you can pay an additional $30 where you'll get your professional headshots taken that day, done right there. And these are also not the headshots that some people have, you know, where you just have the backdrop and you're like sitting there like the JCPenney headshots, because those aren't effective. We don't use those too much in the professional world. And like you can see even on this example, the one that I have where you're actually in action. So it's really great. You'll work with the photographer and do all of the things to make sure that it's not like a just like a JC Penney looking, you know, the pictures from the 80s, but that you're actually in your element, that it gives people some depth into your character and all that kinds of stuff. And I am, for all of you, giving you a 50% off of the workshop. When you register using the codes, if you go over to your little gift offers, you'll see that that has been activated. So whenever you register, I'd register now before it fills up. You can just put in that code and you'll get 50% off of it. And so it is Saturday, March 25th from 9 a.m. to noon. And then, of course, there is the newsletter that I talked about. So you can go in now and sign up for that, and you'll get added to the list, and you will get those when that comes out every month, in addition to any other special offers that we have that go on throughout the year, that you'll be a part of that. And it's really, I think it's really helpful too. Like I said, it gives you more in depth into some of the things that we can only briefly talk about um, on these webinars. Any questions about any of these things that anybody has? All right. So the last thing that we offer is that you can, no questions now. Great. And Erica, if you have any questions, definitely you can contact me and ask those, and we'll show you how to contact me. But we also have where you can write a review, and that's a review about the webinars, the workshops, any of that. Just share your experience. You can go to this, you can get the QR code that's right there, or Katrina will again put that link in the chat. But what you do with that, if you give a testimonial, if you leave a review or give a testimonial, those can also be featured in the newsletters that we have. Plus, sometimes we'll have more offers and prizes for things like that. So let me know how I'm doing. Give me some feedback with those reviews. They're greatly appreciated. And so, if anybody has any questions after today, or even even later tonight, in the middle of the night, when you can't remember what a direct address is and where the hyphen goes, you can feel free to connect with me and contact me. There's my email address. I am on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So those are all of the ways to contact me. So you guys have been great. Are there any questions at all about anything that we've gone over? Is there any questions about any of the workshops, the webinars, or even just with this broadcast? What you'll get is everybody that is an attendee or that has registered. You will, once this has been recorded and made available, you'll also get an email with a link to the recording that you can watch anytime that you need to catch up on stuff. And it'll be the same with the paid webinars. When you have that access, you'll have that link anytime, so it doesn't go away. You'll be able to watch the videos, and then you'll also have access to those handouts. And even if you have like a question about the offer or something, you can go back to that, and it allows you to see that. So you guys have been great. Any final comments, questions, concerns? Thank you. I'm glad. I hope you guys got something out of it. Tell me, who can tell me in the chat, you're welcome, Aaron. What's the biggest takeaway that you took from tonight? Need to work on punctuation? Definitely. And we actually will have even one of the webinars that'll be at the end of the year will be specifically on punctuation itself. So that's a great one. Okay, learning adverbs. Yeah, they can be tricky. So we'll talk about in that, like I said, the newsletter, we'll talk about modifiers, which are adverbs and adjectives and the jobs that they do. And so that'll help you, and it'll help you identify them in the sentences and know how to use them too, because sometimes people will um, they'll use an adjective instead of an adverb, right? Like, for an example, I could say, I write poor. That's incorrect because poor is an adjective, right? And you're talking about how you write, which is the verb. So it would be, I write poorly. So we'll talk about some of those things, and it'll help you know how to identify them and use them better. Thank you. Any other examples that you need or questions, or any other big takeaways? All right. Well, this has been great. Thank you all. And like I said, I know it's a lot to digest. If you have any questions, you know where to find me, how to reach me. And I hope to see you at more of these webinars, and everybody that's local. I hope to see you in person at the workshop. And stay tuned. We may have more workshops in the year ahead. So this has been great. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, great night. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Erica. Good night, everyone.